Hello and welcome to the Ignite podcast. My name is Kaitlyn Morris.
And I'm Heather Morris.
And we're on episode number 34. And let's call this Responding to Haters.
Ooh.
How about that?
Yes.
So last week we talked about our internal dialogue with ourselves and how we can kind of beat ourselves up and ways that we can be more positive in that sense. So now we're talking about external conflict. So if somebody is just mean or rude to you straight to your face. So Heather, I hope you have some good advice because this is a rough one for many people. I think everybody eventually goes through a period in time when they're being hated on, at least a little bit. What do you think?
I feel like there's a lot that I shouldn't say, so I'm trying to, I'll be honest, Kaitlyn, I think if I look in my past, I think I was the mean girl when I was younger. But then I've also been on the other side of it where I feel like I had children and I realized like there's just so much that you realize about the world when you have children and you start to raise them, especially in school age kind of years. And you're like, wow, like I have to change because I don't want them to be a part of So it's very easy to change when you're a parent, and I'd like to say I think I'm much better person for that. So I feel like I can speak on both sides. But yes, I have been a part of some mean. How about you? You come on, it's time for you to fess up, Kaitlyn.
Well, I remember like when I was younger in elementary school, I was the one that stood up to the bullies when they were picking on other people. I'd be like, why are you being so mean? That was me.
I know, Kaitlyn. I know. I will say, as I've looked into life a little bit, I think that I usually am very concerned. I've shared this with you before. I think I am also very concerned about the person that's not being treated correctly. And then that kind of gets me, that brings my mean girl out. You know what I mean? So I think the intentions were always correct, but it's like, then you learn how to deal with things differently. So if you could have these skills as a young person that we're going to talk about, I think that that's just going to make a lot of hurt and pain on both sides go away. Does that make sense? Let's dig into it.
Okay, well, first of all, what exactly is a hater? And I found from yourdictionary.com, someone who is negative or discourages others. And so what I wrote for the weekly wellness this past Monday was about how Jesus was hated. And all he did was love and serve others, but that didn't make people like him anymore. Actually, they hated him even more for doing what he was doing, and they ended up murdering him. So John 15:18 says, if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. So this really plays into if you're being hated on, especially for your faith. Jesus said that would happen. And we, in America, we don't feel that persecution as much as maybe other countries, but I think that we can still feel that sense of pressure and maybe that being made fun of for our faith. And Jesus said that's going to happen, so we just have to be ready for that, I guess.
I mean, and I think as young Christians, just because, I have teenagers, so I'm always using that as an example, but I do have a firsthand insight to what happens at high school or in groups or, whatever. And I have boys and girls, so it's both. But, I think it's important to say that I love this verse, first of all, and it's one of those verses that are in your face, isn't it? Like, come on now. Like, yeah. But the other thing too is I think that even though we're not saying that someone else will necessarily say to you as a young Christian, I'm making fun of you because you're a Christian, or I'm making fun of your God. Maybe it doesn't go like that.
Right.
Maybe instead it's what Kaitlyn and I have been talking about, where your life has changed because God is now in your heart. And that makes you kinder. It makes you softer. It makes you look at situations differently. So it's not necessarily just saying you're a Christian, or specifically talking about your church or your religion or what you believe, but it's putting you down as a person instead of bringing you up as a new Christian. It's saying like, people are saying like, why are you so different? You used to want to smoke marijuana. You know what I mean? Like, why, and you're like, hey, tomorrow I go to church and I need to get up in the morning. And plus it's just wrong, and then that creates the meanness and hatred from somebody else. So I do think that even though in America we're not persecuted the way that people are in Cuba and other places, I think that there's other things that when Jesus comes into your heart and you make that change, you're going to be hated on for the change that is made in you. Does that make sense? Yeah. And what you stand for. So just beware of that.
Really good. And Heather, I'm always looking up like YouTube videos and like advice.
I appreciate that as a media person. I appreciate
Yes. So I found it's called Live on Purpose TV. And the title for that video is called What to Say When Someone Insults You. And this gentleman had a few different tactics on how to handle. So if somebody is just blatantly kind of rude to your face, what to do. So I'm going to walk you through a few of them.
Okay.
The first one, he said, just say nothing. And the other person is looking for a response. And that's why oftentimes they're kind of poking at you to get you to respond a certain way. But if you say nothing and just look at them, that kind of takes away their thunder.
But how do you look at them, Caitlin? Because
just
a lot
like
could be said in the eyes.
That is true. But just like, why?
Yeah.
Like, what? Why did you just say that?
Yeah.
The second one is just say, okay. If somebody, that's
Caitlin, how are you saying okay? That could say many things.
I know, but it's better than yelling back at them.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just
saying.
I'm just teasing.
Okay. So he was saying if somebody accuses you of something and if you get all defensive, that kind of shows the other people that may be seeing this conversation take place, that shows that what they had said about you might be true because you're getting so defensive about it. But if you just say, okay, it kind of de-escalates the situation as well. The other one is thank you. And you can be sassy with that if you want to. Like, yeah, like, okay, thank you, and just be done. And then the last one is, and he said this is for maybe close relationships. So if you have a spouse or a friend, this is a 3-part method, and it's called identify, verify, and then accept. So you would go to them and say, when this happened, fill in the blank, when whatever, you called me this name, that made me feel this way. Is that what you intended? And then let them respond. And oftentimes they'll be like, no, I didn't mean to make you feel like that, but maybe they did. Who knows? But giving them that opportunity to respond to how they made you feel is a good way of kind of getting the conversation going. And does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that we should do let's do 2 different role plays.
Okay.
The correct way and the incorrect way. Okay? In a situation. But so this one is incorrect. Okay. All right? So which one do you want to be? Do you want to be the person that has the problem with you, or do you want to be the person that handles it correctly? No, incorrectly.
I'll try to handle it incorrectly.
Okay, but you need to do a good job, Caitlin. Okay? To show us the example of what not to do, okay? Caitlin, you continue to not open the door for me when we come in for work. And I have stuff in my hands. And I think you should be waiting at the door to open the door for me when it's time to come in the mornings.
Guess what, Heather? I have stuff going on in my life too, and you can open your dang door by yourself.
Kaitlyn, you did such a good job on that bet.
Thank you. I tried channeling my inner mean girl. Was that good enough?
That was good. Okay, now we're going to try it differently.
Okay.
You ready? Okay. You better do us proud, Kaitlyn. All right. She's going to use all of these steps to, or you're going to pick maybe you're going to pick which one you want to do. Sure.
Do you have a different example?
Okay. What's my different example? Kaitlyn would absolutely wait at the door for me if she saw stuff in my hands. So this is not even true, but, okay. Kaitlyn. So why'd you go downstairs and get yourself some lunch and you didn't bring some up to me?
So I hear you say that. I got lunch for myself and I didn't bring you any. And you have a bit of an attitude. Is that
Kaitlyn? Take it back.
Is that what you intend?
Take it back.
Okay. I appreciate you letting me know how you feel. And next time, if you let me know that you would also like me to get you lunch, then I would be happy to.
Okay.
I don't know how good that was, but I tried.
It was good. You used all of those last pieces. I think that was good. And can I just for a second though say, when you talk about, even in the adult world, when you talk about being bullied and, all of these steps are true. And the say nothing part of that, or the okay part of that, I think is so important, more than the thank you, because I think that would set somebody off if you're like, thank you. I can't stand you. Thank you. I don't know if that would work so great, but it could with somebody. I don't know your situation. But, the saying nothing or just saying okay is so important, because you are verifying to that person that you are hearing them and you are listening to them and you are stopping and taking a moment before you say anything else and not reacting. And I feel like somebody that wants to be mean to you wants your reaction. Why would they do it if they didn't want your reaction? So that's how I would take, especially those first two, the say nothing or say okay. You're validating them. You're letting them know, even if you're thinking in your mind, I think you're wild, Kaitlyn, that you, even if you're thinking that in your mind, you're listening to them, you're saying you're listening to them, and that might get them to hopefully back down right away, if you're doing it in the right way. I think those are important. And then the last one too, again, I would take the thank you out of there, but but I know what they were trying to get at. But when you are identifying, verifying, and accepting, I feel like all of these steps are, again, identifying that you hear there's a problem, verifying that it's, a problem that they have, and then accepting it, and then moving on. Like how adult-like or Christian-like this would be if this is what we could do. Right. So I like it.
Thanks. But I will say it's not easy to do, because when somebody insults your character, especially when it's not true about you, you automatically have that sense of anger. At least I do. I mean, I don't like that feeling when somebody thinks of you in a certain way and that's not really how you are. So, Heather, I want your advice. Okay. How do we not be a doormat, but also stand up for ourselves in this type of situation? I know we walked through these, but are there any other tips or anything that you can think of? Because I feel like it's a fine line. Like, as a Christian person, I want to be as kind and as respectful to others as I can. But then also I feel like I almost go too far in the fact that people may take advantage of me or take my kindness for weakness. And I don't want that to happen.
No, I think, yeah, there's got to be an in-between there. Now, first of all, I will say that because we, are young Christians, I'm going to say that Jesus didn't not get angry ever.
That's good.
I don't think that made him any more or any less godly because he got angry. There was a time when he was in the marketplace and the vendors, like what we would think the vendors now, so we'll call them vendors, were, in the market on Holy Day, right? Wasn't it Kaitlyn, that on Holy Day? And he went in and was angry with them and pushed tables over. And I don't think he said anything that would have been anything but angry. He wasn't cursing. He wasn't, but he was angry that they would not take that time to want to be, praising God that day. So I don't think that anger and demand is necessarily not godly. It's just, what words are you choosing while you're saying them? And I'm going to say, I don't know if this helps or this doesn't help, but I was a teacher and I had some young students, like babies almost, but we didn't treat them like babies. And by the time they could talk, we would start to say to them, if there's something somebody's not doing that you like, if they take your toy, okay, you teach them to say, now mind you, these babies could only say a couple words, but they would say, I don't like that.
That's good.
And we would teach them to say it. We would mimic that it's in a way that is forceful. Now, first of all, that goes back to what like Oprah Winfrey would say about if somebody's trying to take you from the streets or from your car or whatever, that you be loud and forceful right away, because that alerts them, that alerts that person that you're going to stick up for yourself, and then you get away. So I think that goes back to what we were teaching these little ones. Like, you don't even have the words to say what you need to say yet. Isn't that beautiful? They don't even have the words to like curse at you or say mean things, but they can say and stick up for themselves and say, I don't like that. And then it was kind of funny because as we were like in the classroom, you'd hear that all day. I don't like that. I don't like that. And my kids will still use that in other words and, whatever, but they'll still use that as young adults. Like, I don't like when you do that. So it's kind of in your face. Is it mean? No, because somebody took their toy or took their record or, now that they're young adults, or I don't like that you went in to my room and did that. So if my son took my daughter's record from her room, what's he going to say to that? He went in her room and he took her record and it wasn't okay. And she spoke her piece and nothing more needs to be said. Give the record back. You know what I mean? But I know that's hard for people, Kaitlyn, but just in the beginning, putting it out there, and then it's what you say afterwards and how you react after that makes you unchristian-like, I guess, in your response, and then be kind of the doormat that you're talking about. Because then what are you going to do? I don't know what to tell you after that.
No, I think that sentence is very powerful, of just saying, I don't appreciate that, and leaving it at that. Just there is really good advice, Heather. So thank you for that very much.
Even to the 2-year-olds.
Yes.
They're being taught that.
Yeah, very good. And I have another verse from Galatians 5:1, and it says, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened by a yoke of slavery. And I think we can take that last part many different ways. This could be a burden that we've been carrying, maybe with somebody mistreating us, and we kind of feel that sense of oppression or feel that anxiety when we're around that person. And God says that He wants us to be free and to stand firm in our faith and not let that feeling overtake us. So that's just my encouragement to anyone listening out there today. And I found another video on YouTube, Heather.
All right. We don't even need to check it out today because we're checking out all this stuff, Kaitlyn.
And this is from Shaneika Byars, United for Christ, and the title is God Said Stand Up for Yourself. So if this is something that you may be struggling with standing up for yourself, this is a really encouraging video that I recommend you take a listen to.
You got a lot of homework this week then. A lot of homework. You have a YouTube video on what to say when somebody insults you and a video on God saying to stand up for yourself. Yeah. So I think that that's a good for check it out. Okay. Kaitlyn, do you feel any more like you can stick up for yourself but not be a doormat? I mean, I think it's something we need to keep working on and keep bringing up. But is this helping you at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this conversation is helping me because this is something that right now I feel like I'm kind of going through, and I'm trying to figure out how can I still be kind and be a positive person, but at the same time say, no, I don't appreciate you treating me like that. So, yeah.
And again, I mean, I think that says it all. If you're saying, I don't appreciate that, and then it goes back to our steps, like it's not say nothing. But instead of just saying thank you, it's saying, I don't like what's happening here. And you're not, it's letting that person know you're not treating me right, you know? And then maybe you go on to that next step where you're identifying, verifying, and accepting, right? Yeah. So I think this is good. This is a good start, but we should talk about it more. So
how much do I owe you for being my counselor?
I don't know if I really helped. We just talked about the 2-year-olds.
No, you're a big help, Heather. Would you like to do the ABCs of salvation today?
I would love to. Help me out if I get confused. I love these ABCs. A is for admit that you've done wrong. We've all done wrong. Everybody has. But admit that you are a sinner, you are not perfect, that you've been saved by grace, but that you have something that you can be forgiven for. B is for believing that Jesus died for our sins. So that's what we've been talking about with you. Like believing that there is someone that loved you so much that he was willing to die on the cross for not his sins, but our sins, and that he can change your life. So, and C is for calling on his name by asking Jesus to come into your heart. And that's what we've also been talking about, where you're making Jesus an every minute, every day part of your life. And it's going to be ongoing. It's going to be something that you work on for your whole life, but he can be such a friend, so life-changing. And those prayers that we've been talking about, like just sit down and ask him to come into your heart. And sometimes you have to a couple times. You have to not that you have to re-ask him on his end, but on your end. So I love these ABCs. So
thank you, Heather. Yes. And we just pray that this conversation has been helpful to you. Thanks so much for listening. And until next time,
ignite your life.